don't get this, your prayer life will never be right. The very first thing, perhaps the most important, is our understanding of prayer is based on our relationship with God, Father. All right? If you don't have that relationship with God as your Father, you know, Joseph just talked about his son Gabriel. There are kids in the neighborhood Joe doesn't take care of that way.
Of
He's not their father.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Right? But his children, he takes care of them. And they have a reasonable right to expect it. The thing is, they don't need to expect it. They don't need to give it thought.
They don't. No.
It's just taken care of. When I was first saved, I was just sharing this the other day. It's like, when I got saved completely, absolutely, totally, and I mean, it was an instant and life-changing event. It wasn't a gradual process. It changed my life that moment in time. So I was the president of a small ad agency in New York. Instantly, everybody knew that my life had changed. The change in my life was obvious. That's because I was such a bum that the difference in my life was immediately obvious to everybody. So the question was, and this is back in the mid-'70s, in an area where there were no Pentecostal churches, it was all mainline churches. So people were all saying to me, what happened to you? Well, that was an easy question. Jesus happened to me. That's easy to answer. But then the next question would always be, so what are you? I mean, these are Catholics and Lutherans and Presbyterians, and they're saying, okay, so what are you? You know, are you? And at the time, there was that charismatic movement happening. They say, so are you a charismatic Catholic? Are you an evangelical? Are you a born-again Christian? Are you a Pentecostal? And they're asking me all these things. All I know is I had this encounter with Jesus. I didn't know what it was called. So when I say everybody was asking me, everybody was asking me. And I didn't know, and I thought this was serious. So I went away and prayed. I said to Alice, I've got to go. I've got to hear from God. Well, I went away and I prayed. I don't think it was very long. And God led me to Romans chapter 8, where he spoke through Paul and said that the Spirit of God, the Spirit himself testifies with our spirits that we are children of God. The Spirit of God doesn't testify that you're Church of England, or Baptist, or Pentecostal. What he testifies to is that you're God's child. That's the foundation of our relationship. And that is so important. Yahweh, whatever we want, he's our Father, and Jesus is our high priest, our brother. He's our bridegroom. It's a relationship. And that's why it says in Hebrews 4:16 that therefore, let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace so that we may receive mercy and find grace to help us in time of need. The King James Version says, let us come boldly before the throne of grace. Okay, because you couldn't do that before, right?
No. And he didn't have access.
In 2009, we'd come to England, we'd come here, and we'd come into southwest England, and we went to Windsor. We started our trip in Windsor. And we were standing outside the castle, the Windsor Castle, the Queen's Castle. And interestingly, the flag was flying, indicating that she was in residence.
She was home.
Yes. So, having noticed that the flag was flying, I said to Alice if she thought that the Queen knew we were there. Because, for sure, if she did, she would have invited us in for tea, I thought, After all, I'm an ambassador for a kingdom that's more powerful and more ancient and more significant than hers. Well, she didn't.
We stood at the gate and we waited.
She didn't invite us in. But that's another story. See, now, if I had been Prince Charles or somebody, I just could have walked up to the gate and gone in.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
But I didn't have that relationship. And we have English subjects in the room. I doubt seriously that you'll go down to Buckingham Palace and rush in and throw your arms around her and say, Mommy. You wind up in the tower off with his head. It's about relationship. It's always about relationship. You know, I was talking about John Kennedy. John Kennedy was the president of the United States in the early 60s. And if you know anything, the Oval Office, that's in the Oval Office in the White House in the United States of America, that is the political holy of holies. That is sacrosanct. I mean, few people get into that room. That is, like I said, the political holy of holies. That's really a good way to put it. It's a place of pomp and majesty. But it was also a playground for little John Kennedy, who was his son. And there were some famous pictures taken in the early 60s of John Kennedy running into the Oval Office and throwing his arms around the president's legs. He could do that. I mean, if Henry Kissinger did that, it probably wouldn't have played so well, and he had a good relationship with him. But he didn't have that relationship with him. Okay? We have that relationship with our Father, where we can run into His presence and throw our arms around Him. It is so important for us to grasp that. Because yes, He is the Lord God Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. He is an awesome God. He is a consuming fire. He is all these things. But the Spirit within us cries out, Abba. It's such an amazing and wonderful thing. And when that becomes the reality in our hearts, not only will it change our prayer life, it'll change our life, period.